Well, uh, well, thank you very much, Marcelo. It's such a joy to have the full room today to discuss this topic, which is very dear to my heart, you know. And we have fun. We have a great program ahead, and thanks, Marcelo, for putting all this together. Uh, Folks, agriculture and livestock systems, they used to be integrated. Uh, we used to have cows grazing on corn stover, or very common to plant cover crops and graze. And if you go back 100 years ago, it used to be like that, right? You probably remember maybe your grandpa or some old pictures of crops and cows integrated together, and we can do that in different ways. But with time and then the modern agriculture, let's put that way, and we kind of specialize the systems, and you kind of separate those two. The crops went to one side, the cows went to another side, and we lost with that. So the whole purpose of us discussing together today is how can we bring them back? What are we losing when you separate those systems? Well, for sure, we lost some of the diversity of our commodities. Instead of having cattle and cotton and other different commodities, you just got one per every year, even if you do crop rotation. And that you lose resilience. You increase the risk of the system when you do that. We also, when you lost the connection with the cows they cycle nutrients back to the soil. And a lot, 80 to 90% of whatever the cow eats goes back to the soil, and they do that in such a efficient way in terms of improving the soil organic matter and building soil health, and that will have also positive benefits to the crops. When you disconnect the cows and you just keep the crops, there is also some sort of building pest and disease problems. And in some cases, some environmental problems are created. So it's really reconnecting the livestock to the land, helps to reconnect those biogeochemical cycles, the carbon and nitrogen and other nutrients go back. The plants they put together, they put together the carbon and nitrogen, and the animals, they break them apart, bringing them back to the soil and to microbial microorganisms in the soil, and also building soil organic matter and make it more efficient to the plant for nutrient uptake. We did long time ago a trial where you put some forage inside the rumen of ruminants and also on the ground in a litter bag. So the rumen bugs, they decompose that forage in a week, which take almost 1 year to decay on the ground. So they help to, cycle back those nutrients much more efficiently, and with that, the plants are ready to take up those nutrients readily. So the grazing cover crops really help us to recover and recycle those nutrients. We have some data showing that also reduce nitrate leaching. It helps to bridge, the nutrients from the one cropping season to the other, and actually helps to build soil organic matter. And we've been talking about cover crops for a long time. You name it, maybe 70 years or more. But the adoption is still very low. So the cows could pay for the cost of the cover crops and bring the benefits and bridge those nutrients from one crop to the other. Really, what we'd like to do in the long term is to have living roots all the time on the ground. Maximize those living roots. That's those 4 M's to improve sustainability and soil health. It's also very important to reduce disturbance. Try to use, reduce the tillage, use no-till drill, maximize the cover and the diversity as well. So those 4 things are really important if you want to build soil health in the long term, if you want to build soil organic matter. And we are in a region, at least in this Florida Panhandle, even in southern Alabama, southern Georgia, very sandy soils where it's hard to build soil organic matter. But if you follow those 4 M's, you're on the right track. What happens is that here in the southeast, we have 4.1 million acres, only in Florida, Alabama, and Georgia, 4.1 million acres of row crops. And only 5% of that plant some sort of cover crop. So a lot of that land is irrigated. So in summary, 95% of that productive land is not being used, during after the harvest in September, October, after the harvest of cotton and peanut, until March, April next year. So there's a lot of room to use that land during that time. So there is opportunity to develop, to generate economic development. There is opportunity to build soil health. There is opportunity to improve the crop yields in the next season. So that it's a no-brainer, I think. But we are here to discuss, even if we have all of those positives, why it doesn't happen or the adoption is very low. That's something that we need to discuss today and try to understand better. Dr. David Wright, most of you probably heard about David, has a great career at the University of Florida. 23 years ago, he proposed the sod-based rotation system where we integrate a perennial grass, bahia grass, in the system for 2 years, and then peanut followed the bahia and cotton followed the peanut. And he showed that by reconnecting the cattle, grazing not only the bahia grass, but also grazing during the winter time, the cover crops, you improve the soil organic matter by a lot. For example, here, this data from David shows organic matter going from around 1% to almost more than 2%, and this goes up to 2010. Today is around 2.5%. So you go from 1 to 2.5%. You more than double the soil organic matter. And we also reduce the need for irrigation. You reduce the need for fertilizer application, and the crop yields are really good. Mr. Larry Ford is here, and he's a testimony of the system. But even though people sometimes don't want to do it because you need to have 2 years of bahia grass on the ground, and sometimes people are leasing the land, they're paying the lease, and they want to go all the way with row crop, and that's a possibility as well. So we could potentially integrate crop and livestock systems without the perennial grass rotation, although you probably will be slower in terms of increasing the soil organic matter and soil health, but it is also a possibility to integrate cattle and cover crops during the winter time. That's the best time of the year to improve soil health, to improve soil organic, and to improve the gains on the cattle. So that's a possibility there to integrate in these systems. And that's our data from Mariana that shows the total organic matter when you added cover crop and no cover crop. You see in 5 years this data, 7 years now, more soil organic matter in the cover crop and also in the grazed systems compared to the fallow, which is the standard. So the conventional system typically is more liquid, more nitrate leaching. And the ICLS system, when you put the cows to reconnect, okay. So they help to decouple the carbon and nitrogen, they benefit the soil microorganisms and the plants. And with that, they promote organic matter and reduce losses. We measure some of those nitrate leaching right here at the station. And we have here the best, the good, and the ugly. And really, we have the best was grazing cover crop, the good, the cover crop only without grazing, and the ugly is the fallow. The fallow, that's where we had the most nitrate leaching, was the fallow system. Here, the bigger, the worse. The bigger, the worse, because the more nitrate leaching. And when you just put some cover crop, you reduce nitrate leaching. And when you graze it, you reduce even further. The sod-based rotation was really the star here, but the ICLS system also helped a lot to reduce nitrate leaching. So what I'm talking about here is that by integrating cover crops and grazing, you also benefit the environment by reduced nitrate leaching. Other benefits, of course, is the cattle weight gain, right? That's the best time to put gain on cattle. Bahia grass during the summer, that's 0.7 pounds per day. We have data from 10 years. I can tell that's 0.7 pounds per day for growing cattle. if you're trying to develop heifers or growing steers. And I know most of you have mature cows, that's another deal, but you still need to develop your heifers. 0.7. In this winter time, 2.1. That means for one month of grazing on the cover crops during the winter time equals 3 months of grazing on barrier grass during the summer in terms of gain. I'll repeat that. 1 month of grazing during this cool season equals 3 months of grazing during the summer on barrier grass. So if you have cattle to develop, I think you should do it. How about the row crop yields? Well, we have a lot of folks think that grazing cover crops compacts the soil and reduce crop yields. Have you heard about that? So I had to hire the Meat Busters. They are like a sister company of the Ghostbusters Incorporated. Have you heard about those? And try to find out more about this. Well, what happened here in terms of the peanut yield, the grazed integrated crop livestock system, we had a greater peanut yield compared to the fallow system. It's no grazing. So that's important. How about cotton? No difference. The cotton was not affected by the grazing or cover crop or fallow. Everything was very similar. That's data from Luana sitting right there. How about the compaction of the soil? Well, when you added cover crop, you actually reduced the bulk density. The cover crop 149, no cover crop 1.72. So the lower this number, the better. That means less compaction. And the grazing did not increase. It was very similar. But the fallow, yes, the fallow did compact the soil. So the conclusion from the Meat Busters is, this didn't hold true. How about the system fertilization? Have you heard about that? I think maybe Dr. Pedro Nunes, who is here sharing his experience from Brazil, he's probably going to talk a little bit about that. But the idea here is that the nutrients applied in the cover crop phase can help to increase the yields of the cash crop phase. In this case here, by applying nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium in the cover crop with the grazing, increase the soybean yields, from 4.2 to 4.4 compared to when just the phosphorus and potassium was applied. So you got a bump here. And I put together some numbers in terms of economics of land use. And those yields, they came from the USDA from back 2023. But I used the number actually in parentheses a little higher than the USDA numbers. I was talking to some of the growers and with Dr. Barry Tillman, and he gave me a higher yield. So I used the higher number. And I put the price here for cotton and the price for peanut and the gross income here. For cotton and fallow and the average cost. At the end, cotton is hard to pencil out if you have those kind of yields. Very difficult. But if you put integrated system with cotton, and I was very conservative here. I didn't use the crazy prices. I used $1.8 per pound, and I put $250 for cost to plant in the cool season. So you bump up to $200. So you're not going to make a lot of money, to be honest. The greater benefit is really improving the soil health, increasing the crop yields, reduce the fertilizer input on the next one. Because you also need to, if you're working together with folks, you need to share some of these benefits, right? In the peanuts are better, crop than cotton, so you have a better margin. But even though when you integrate cattle and crops, you have a better margin right there. And this is relevant because the land price is increasing, as you can see here, in the last 20 years or so, and it had a bump, especially here in Florida, in the last 5 years, right? So that means if you're paying around $8,000 or even more per an acre of land, some of those folks, they want to pay at least the interest of that capital, and that means higher leasing prices. And that has been already happening. And I know for just the row crop, it's hard to pay more than $200 or $250 per acre just to have the row crop. So if you bring, even if you get $50 or $100 when you integrate, plus all the other benefits on building the soil health, that's a big deal. You're making the thing pencil out. And you're still, they're looking at 4 or 5% of revenue to pay for the land, plus the land valuation, which has been very consistent of 2.1% for the last 20 years per year. So that's something that may force folks to use that. Some of the challenges, I know Dr. Vala already sent me the 5 minutes sign. I know there are some folks in short-term leasing agreements, and that makes it more difficult to make it to work. Also, perimeter fence, water trough, and also all the cattle management skills that you need to have, the connection with the marketplace, buying cattle, selling cattle, the high-risk cattle, sometimes you have some mortalities. Those are some of the challenges. So what I'm proposing here is that you have two folks working together, like a row crop guy, livestock guy, partnering and working together to make it work better. It's very important to have trust and transparency in all of the processes. It's key to establish successful partnerships. And back on the back of the room, we have the Southeast Grazing Exchange. Igor is there. And it's a website, actually, that has a lot of educational information, podcasts and videos and educational materials. And also, the idea is like a matching maker, put row crop farmers and livestock producers to work together, and the Southeast Grazing Exchange helps with that. If you want to know more about it, you can talk with Igor, and he actually can sign you up, free, no need to pay anything. Take-home messages. Integrated crop livestock systems are a win-win strategy to row crop farmers, cattle producers, and the environment. We need to implement policies to facilitate partnership and increase the adoption. There are still barriers that we need to overcome, like we mentioned, the fencing and infrastructure and skills. But we need more and more educational programs like this to increase the awareness. I also want to thank the group, the forest team, and Marcelo and all his team for putting this together. Thank you very much.